Hello, my name is Tony White, and I read the book Our Finest Day, D-Day, June 6, 1944, foreword by Stephen E. Ambrose. What was D-Day? The day in World War II on which the Allied forces invaded northern France by means of beach landings in Normandy. Allied forces launched a combined naval, air, and land assault on Nazi-occupied France. This was a long and costly campaign to liberate Northwest Europe from German occupation. Landing across 5 beaches: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, and Sword. How was it started? A command team led by Dwight D. Eisenhower was formed in December 1943. He needed to draw German attention and strength away from Normandy. It required detailed planning. There were over 2 million troops from over 12 countries in Britain for this invasion. Allied forces consisted primarily of American, British, and Canadian troops, but also included Australian, Belgian, Dutch, French, Greek, New Zealand, Norwegian, Rhodesian, and Polish naval air or ground support. It was conducted in 2 phases: an airborne assault and an amphibious landings. Shortly after midnight on June 6, over 18,000 Allied paratroopers were dropped into invasion area to provide tactical support for infantry. How did we get here? Fighting the war made soldiers tired, and the food was pretty bad at that time. Regular supplies were being diverted from docked U.S. ships to black markets in London. The vast majority of soldiers had been civilians just months before, so the army did what they could to train them. What did it take? The invasion was conducted in 2 phases: the airborne assault and amphibious landing. Shortly after midnight on June 6, over 18,000 Allied paratroopers were dropped into the invasion area to provide tactical support for the entry divisions on the beaches. More than 1,000 British bombers dropped 5,000 tons of bombs on German gun batteries placed in Normandy assault area, while 3,000 Allied ships crossed the English Channel in preparation for the invasion of Normandy. This was a top-secret mission called Operation Overlord. The goal was to drive the German military back. There were several pitfalls along the way. Members of the 82nd Airborne Division would parachute down, but be in danger of landing safely and trying to regroup without coming under attack. Yet this would be vital to the attack. British Air Chief Marshal Lee Mallory was set against this. He felt the obstacles were just too great. But Eisenhower ordered it anyway in hopes that it would work okay. The weather was another obstacle. They would need a full moon and clear skies. The full moon would help them see. If the tides were too low, or the forces coming from the sea would be forced to wade through a quarter-mile of soggy sand, beach obstacles, and minefields, all while under fire. Hitler's secret weapon was another cross to bear. There was a threat of launching a V-1 rocket bombs from him, and Allied commanders lived in fear of these pilotless bombs. The decision. The choice came down to Eisenhower. As he paced and paced, he thought all the things that were bad, that looked really bad with the weather and the readings, indicating that if there was not a break in the storm, they would not have a good chance of starting like they wanted to. So they thought about it would take them, if they get a break, that break would last at least 36 hours, and this would give them a suitable time to attack. D-Day invasion begins. Eisenhower gave the order that took hours to spread to many thousands of ship captains and commanders. The soldiers got a pep talk about taking part in the history of the world. They were fed steak dinners the night of the 5th. The general was confident of the success that was to be made. Eisenhower visited the troops and wished them well. After 2 long years of preparation and months of waiting, the invasion was finally underway. 20 minutes before the invasion began, the submarines would surface in quiet waters. This would in turn transmit sound waves to orient the ships for the assault. They had powerful red and green searchlights that could be seen 5 miles away. As they landed, some were unlucky and had their parachutes afire and plummeted to their death. Some landed in flooded fields and drowned because of carrying the heavy equipment. Many perished before they even had a chance to jump because the aircraft was shot from the sky. One regiment, the 82nd Airborne, they managed to land as a one cohesive unit. As they entered one of the towns in Germany, to their surprise, the German forces had moved out. The takeover. Most of the men waiting to storm the beaches expected to counter only light resistance. They had been assured that the intensive bombings and naval shellings would hammer the Germans. The bombardment continued. The smoke and noise was an eerie contrast to the sun on the water. First, they took over the Utah beach. Then the Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and last was Sword. Hitler and his staff were convinced that the Allies were going to launch a larger attack, and while he was waiting, the German wall had been breached. The generals knew that they had scored a major victory. The Allies began an endless delivery of reinforcements. There was nothing that could stop the Allied advancement now. Within 3 weeks, the Allies had taken over. There were more than 1 million in Normandy, tons of supplies, and lots of vehicles. German troops surrendered less than a year after D-Day. In the aftermath, over 425,000 Allied and German troops were killed, wounded, or went missing during the Battle of Normandy. But this was a major turning point for World War II.